Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's Steven. It's MTarget.
Yo.
And we're here for the best Dota 2 podcast. And we're in that nice post-TI kind of news phase where we get the patches, where we get teams exploding, and we get, to a lesser degree, some teams forming. And as you probably noticed, the biggest news by a pretty good margin is Dendi has left the active roster of NaVi for the first time in 8 years. And that's going to be our round one. And it's really super important because I would say that there are very few players in all of esports that are as synonymous with their specific team as Dendi is with NaVi.
I mean, forget just Dendi with NaVi, Dendi with Dota in general. We'll get to that in a second. Dendi with NaVi, Fear with EG, Loda with Alliance, but again, all three of those guys are in top 5 for most games played with the team. So
yeah.
Pasha with Virtus Pro in CS. Until he got swapped, if 2 years ago, I would have said double lift with TSM, but obviously that changed.
And obviously there's Faker with SKT.
Faker with SKT, kind of, but Faker's also this Faker's other also weird level.
Yeah, he's kind of his own brand on top of that.
Yeah, which and to some people they say, well, so is Dendi. No, Dendi's brand is blended with NaVi, to such a degree that people are unless he decides to stay with NaVi as a streamer, he decides that he's going to retire from competing and he's just going to stream for NaVi and have a good time. Okay, cool. But if he goes to another team, so many people are going to lose their shit, especially if he starts doing well again. Let's say that he needs a change of pace or a change of scenery or whatever, and going somewhere else, and maybe he plays a different position, maybe he keeps playing mid, who knows, who cares? Things change and he starts doing better. Oh my god, is shit gonna get crazy online, especially in Russia. So many people who are die-hard fans of NaVi Dendi gonna lose their minds because they're not gonna. Are they gonna hate NaVi for getting rid of him? Or are they gonna hate Dendi for leaving NaVi? Probably more the former than the latter. But
I mean, it ultimately is going to end up being a thing of who ends up quote unquote winning that breakup. Because I mean, we look at the one we discussed before was Fly and S4 leaving OG for EG, and ultimately they both really ended up everybody involved ended up better off for it.
Yeah, which is weird because I remember before TI we were both saying that Crit and Fly won that.
Yeah,
with a bit of OG's doing better too, but I mean EG just looked amazing, and then Jurax and Seb were kind of fuck this and just ran it.
Yeah, so ultimately it was a like I said, ultimately both ends of that ended up being better off, but unless it's really unlikely that Dendi is going to land elsewhere, really do well, and then also NaVi ends up spiking. I guess it's possible.
It's the Virtus Pro NaVi trade with Roger and Lil. Very clearly, we all thought, oh, Lil's gonna bring up NaVi and it's gonna be great, and it was oh, maybe not.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
speaking of, no, go ahead.
Yeah, once Lil started kind of popping off about it a little bit on Twitter / other social media platforms, that immediately made me feel like that was kind of not necessarily a matter of improving both teams as much as it was dumping off Lil.
Yeah.
And obviously Virtus Pro won that trade by a considerable margin.
Speaking of trades and NaVi,
actually,
have you seen
real quick, for anybody who hasn't seen the news, the NaVi roster as it stands right now is Crystallize, Magical was just added
as their mid.
Blizzy was just added as their offlaner, and Sonico returns as their captain and number 5 spot. The number 4 spot is currently open. Crystallize was with the team for a pretty good length of time. He joined in 2017 at the start of the last Dota Pro Circuit season. As a whole, did pretty darn well. If you remember, towards the end of 2017, early in 2018, NaVi was actually looking pretty darn good on the whole.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. And to note though, I don't know if anybody's seen it, but some people have started pulling up gameplay footage of Magical in mid, and he looks pretty good. Now,
yeah, Magical,
you can cherry pick anybody's mid games and make them look amazing, but I saw a couple of them put together. Short of him being a great tinker, which means that everybody is now contractually obligated to hate him, because he looks like a bit of a tinker spammer in pubs.
Yeah, well, ultimately,
does look like he's good.
Yeah, both Magical and Blizzy are kind of sort of like journeymen. Like, I wouldn't say not necessarily talent wise, because Thompson kind of just blows up everybody's expectations. But they both have been part of random smaller teams. Blizzy, I'm looking at his Wikipedia page right now, was on No Lifer 5, M19, MVP Revolution, if anybody remembers the fact that they existed, and Vega Squadron. Well, that's the big one between the two of them. And Magical was on Yellow Submarine, Effect, and a random stack more recently. He ended up taking 2018 kind of off, but apparently he's back. Or 2017, 2018 off. Yeah, Yellow Submarine, that was a team that made some noise.
It was a fun team.
That was kind of a landing spot for any given CIS reject that wasn't the CIS rejects. And Effect Gaming, that's an actual team that has been around for a long time now. And, is currently not in existence, but has been around for a while. So basically two not pub stars, but journeyman pros, as well as Sonico and Crystallize. And there is some cause for optimism there. And Dendi is still technically with the team. He's currently listed as inactive. Have to imagine that he's kind of just reevaluating what he wants to do at this point. I imagine he's going to come back in one way or another. He could end up, like you mentioned, being a streamer for NaVi, the same way Admiral Bulldog is a streamer for Alliance still.
Yeah, there's some...
But
Bulldog also still technically is a part owner of Alliance, so let's not forget that.
Yeah, but ultimately, Dendi
I agree.
is probably going to end up being a player for another organization. And whether he found his own team or, a very, basically any given European or CIS team would benefit greatly from adding him. That's a turnkey brand for you. NaVi was basically the Dendi team. If Vega Squadron or Team Empire or any of those other CIS teams is just like, you know what? Here's $500,000, Dendi. We'll sell jerseys to make up for it. Then they'll get him, probably. And whether or not that translates to wins for them is, we'll ultimately see. But yeah, got him. I would personally bet that he's going to be back before too long in a pro playing way. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I really don't, because remember there was that event in Peru that he went to as a personality. Maybe he takes off a split, he takes off the first 6 months of the year.
Yeah,
I see him taking off a chunk of time.
Yeah, he might do what Anna did this last year. Anna was basically took a hiatus after TI7.
He went back to school.
Yeah,
kid was still 17 at the end of TI7, so just keep that in mind.
Yeah, so he ended up coming back earlier this year. Ended up with, I think, Echo International and
for a hot minute.
Yeah, Echo International and Animal Planet or something like that. Two of those NA stacks that didn't really go anywhere, or EU stacks. I don't even remember. Either way, he ended up retiring, coming back, bounced around, then landed back with OG, and the rest is history. So could definitely see Dendi doing the same. But either way, like I said, I imagine he'll be before TI9. He's going to be back playing full time with somebody. Agree, disagree?
I 100% agree.
Yeah.
Like I said, I see him taking off time and then playing again. A lot of people might see him coming back sooner. I don't know. Personally, I'd like to see him take a break. I'd like to see him take 3 to 6 months off, stream, do whatever. Don't stream. It doesn't matter. Go from there.
Do Dendi stuff. Go be Dendi. But yeah, he ultimately, like I said, is going to be a huge boon to whatever team he ends up coming back with. And like I said, hopefully he ends up winning, because I think Dendi being in Pro Dota and being in a pretty good place, like wins losses wise, is just good for the entire scene. Like few players end up moving the needle the way he does. And one of the biggest games before the international was, for the last year or so, was way back end of TI7 or end of 2017, excuse me, after TI7, was Team Secret versus NaVi at like one of the ESL minors. And that's because the Dendi brand, when it's, even loosely associated with being a winning brand, it's, like I said, it's good for all of Dota 2.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that we are going to, and this is, we haven't talked about this before, so we're going to get your, gut reaction here. I think that we are on the cusp of a new generation of Dota taking over. I think that we will very soon start really seeing pros retiring like crazy. We're going to see a lot more Fears, a lot more, maybe even Dendis, these older guys retiring. I think we are going to see at the very least, we're going to see them take a step back. Maybe they're going to stream more, maybe, but I think that we are coming up on a turning point for Dota. I get that, a lot of players really aren't necessarily at like, I mean, they could keep playing for a very long time. Who knows how much longer, pros can play now that there's more money involved in esports compared to there was 10 years ago. But the way that I've seen teams change over the last 4 years, I think we're going to start seeing some of, especially the old guard, the guys that were playing Dota 1, the guys that went from Dota 1 to Han or whatever. I think those are the guys that we are going to see start retiring soon.
I don't know that I believe that. I think that, it'll depend on the region, because like I just pulled up the International 2011. You look at the different regions. If you go down the list region by region, you look at Meet Your Makers Euro team, Misery, Milk, Demon. Milk is doing his own thing, but Misery and Demon both still pretty active and playing with high teams. Old NaVi, Dendi, we've been talking about him. Puppy, obviously, still doing pretty well for himself. Okay, Havost, Art Style. Art Style's still around, but not in.
He's tier 2-ish.
Yeah. But Havost and Light of Heaven, not so much. But then you go down like the list of Chinese players, like in IG, OG, the original IG, Sansheng, Zhu, Zhao 8, Ferrari, and DDC. DDC still around, doing great.
Ferrari is retired, I would say.
He came back with Big God, but
but Big God was that like kind of like, hey, like the boss wants to play, and he did come back for the Chinese All-Stars game against the AI. But like that was the thing, is I remember watching that and everybody saying explicitly Ferrari came out of retirement to play against the computer. So at least in China, he's considered retired.
Yeah, Sansheng is now a coach. Yeah. Zhu is,
and maybe we'll see more of those, like coaches instead of players as well.
Zhu is like a tier 3 player. DDC is the only one that's still around and still doing pretty well. He's with LFY. No, he's with.
That sounds right. No,
he was on loan to VGJ Thunder.
That's right.
From LFY, so I was right. Then eHome, 820, QQQ, X, Lanham, SJQ.
3 out of 5? 4 out of 5?
4 out of 5 gone. Lanham is still on VG Gaming.
Wait, what? Hang on, I gotta pull up this list now myself.
And then you go down list of like Scythe Gaming. That was a Malaysian stack built around Hi, and none of them are around at this point. So it depends on the region, and ultimately,
but like I said, we've still gotten a few guys out of there, and I think that and there was the I don't know. I think that we're just going to continue to see more and more guys starting to retire in a bigger way, because that's my point.
I don't know that that's the case, because I mean, like I said, you go down region by region. China, sure, it seems like the players are getting kind of forced out. It's a much more competitive scene. But you look at Online Kingdom. Online Kingdom. Fear, Lacosta, Come With Me, Pycat, 1437, Universe. 4 of those 6 still playing on high-end teams. You know? Gosu Gamers.
1437 went back to coaching again recently, so just
I know, but he was
retired for a little while, so just, in my defense.
Well, he was on the TNC Tiger team, and they almost made it to TI. And yeah, Gosu Gamers
is currently on Optic. So again, giving him credit now, but
ultimately, I think it's going to depend on the region. I think it's going to depend on stuff. And I mean, we saw a couple of years ago, Demon basically go ham with TNC. Like, you never know what's going to happen. I think we'll probably see some turnover, but I don't think it's going to necessarily be a big uptick in any serious way. Okay. So, and again,
it was my 2 cents.
Okay, what about with NaVi? What do you think? Like, obviously, with the new major minor system, there's kind of going to be it's a weird blend of more opportunities for tier 2 teams and less opportunities. Once you miss out on the chance to go to a major, you get the chance to go to a minor, which is kind of going hand in hand with the event. So there's, like I said, a weird mix of both more and less opportunities. Virtus Pro, obviously the #1 team in CIS, they are retaining their same roster, is what is currently planned for them. But past that, kind of anything goes. Like, the CIS region is pretty much wide open. So, thoughts on NaVi? And do you think we can have any real thoughts before we see how the new team pans out and how they actually?
We can't have any real thoughts until qualifiers start and or teams are finalized. Like, until rosters are starting to lock in place, we can't have any real thoughts about really any team, and especially a team that's NaVi we haven't seen play in 6 months now, practically.
Pretty much.
It feels that way. So who knows how that team's going to do with is losing Dendi going to be a good thing? Is it going to be a bad? I mean, there's just so many questions.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of is it a good thing or a bad thing, I think that'll ultimately come down to the money. Like, how many shirts are they no longer going to sell? How many streams are going to not be watched or be watched without him? I think that's really the value that Dendi started to add by like 2016, and there's certainly value there. But if they win TI9 somehow, that'll shake out. But it's a long ways off before we know. Favorite Dendi moment all time?
Ooh.
Close this round on this discussion.
Either Dendi being a shitter with his big ass shit eating grin when he was picked as Pudge, when he was the Pudge cosplayer, because that was just he looked so full. He looked so proud of himself.
Oh god, it was so great.
Otherwise,
I don't know. Okay, that's a good one, and I honestly had that one in my mind, but my all-time favorite is easily the Fountain Hooks.
Okay, that's what I was trying to decide between Fountain Hooks and some of the celebrations, because
TI3, right?
I think so. If you guys don't know, it's actually on the Dota 2 YouTube channel. It's called the International Archives, and just search International Archives Fountain Hooks and watch the full video where they interviewed players, like both then and now. And there are some players who are still pissed. Like, they wanted NaVi disqualified because of the fountain hook,
which is ridiculous. I mean,
I think it's hilarious because like
yeah,
it's pushing it. Like, yeah, that's like right on the line for like an exploit. But like, look at all of the other shit that we pull regularly in Dota that in other games would be called an exploit.
Yeah, I mean, I 100% loved it. I loved it at the time, and I loved seeing everyone's reaction to it. And it's Dendi Pudge. How can you not love it? So
that is true. Although I don't know, I personally, for me, Dendi's Shadow Fiend is like,
that's also quite good.
It's got a little place in my heart for it.
Yeah. So that's round 1. We're now going to switch over to round number 2. And round number 2 is our discussion on the 7.19b update. So this is our minor, but we'll ultimately see if it ends up being the bigger patch post TI. And really not too many changes.
I think they're working on a 7.20 to come in 2 weeks before, because that should be right before the qualifiers, qualifiers start and everything.
Yeah, for those who,
sorry, go ahead.
For those who haven't looked over the patch notes, lots and lots of small changes. Mana costs being upped by 10. The big thing in terms of actual pro play is that if you get 2 denies, it forces you to get an extra wave of creeps in order to hit level 2. Others, a bunch of random small things that you, as a not 8K non-pro player, probably won't really notice. But the big things are a kind of weird buff debuff for Drown Ranger.
100%.
Ended up having her base agility dropped from 26 to 19. Her agility gain increased from 1.9 to 2.2, and her base attack animation improved by 0.05 seconds. We also had Tiny get nerfed. We had Spectre get nerfed. Nothing huge, but nerfs that ideally will make them not guaranteed 100% pick ban material. The other big note was a general tweak to phase boots and how they interact with ranged heroes. The instant turn rate is now for melee characters only. If you don't notice, watch closely, if you try and have your character turn around 180 degrees, there is a turning animation there. Phase boots got rid of that. No longer the case on ranged heroes, and also the speed boost was decreased from 16% to 13% on ranged heroes. Again, that kind of feels like a specific thing built around how powerful that Drow strat team seemed to be towards the end of TI8.
I think also just in general, we'd been seeing such a power creep for ranged heroes lately, whether it be buffs to ranged heroes, continued nerfs to melee heroes. That melee heroes needed some love again. We killed in the last year. We've killed Poor Man's Shield.
I missed that,
dude. I like, it's weird. Like, I normally I don't care about it, and then every now and then I find myself, especially as a like troll warlord or somebody like that, like a melee agi hero.
Bloodseeker,
technically melee. Oh my god, Bloodseeker. Okay, I don't miss out on Bloodseeker because that man does not need more buffs right now.
Yeah, but beforehand he did. But anyway, Poor Man's Shield missing. Also the claw thing. What was that claw thing? Iron Talon.
Although that was just a general thing because, I mean, it helped melee heroes more. But,
melee. Yeah. So ultimately, a lot of little things have been taken away from the melee heroes.
So, seeing some melee love again, I think is really good. I think that it's also what I think it ends up meaning is that we're going to see more ranged heroes going back to treads. But that may not be a bad thing. Okay, Drow doesn't have phase boots anymore. Okay, so she can't run away. But that means that she's going to get even more agi. Rip. Or you might. The other thing that we might see is we might see more Merlini strat, where we see people rushing, and air quotes, boots of travel. Merlini's big thing, especially in, I'm a huge fan of watching his streams, mostly because they kind of are a good way to wind down at the end of the night, because he always listens to like calming trance. and just plays, and it's a good time. But anyways, he goes brown boots and then goes into 1 or 2 core items and then finishes bots. And every time he focuses on being able to rotate in the mid game better, and just having that option, especially now that brown boots give you that move speed option. They're not as well, they're the same speed, I should say, as everything else now. You're not penalized as much for just staying on them. So I think that we'll see more of that with ranged heroes.
That's my go-to turbo strat, by the way.
It's 100% the best turbo strat.
Yeah. So definitely could see that, and like you said, it'll probably end up hitting some of the semi kind of core ranged heroes. I could see it like hurting a Windrunner or Wind Ranger now. Could see it hurting like Vengeful Spirit maybe.
I don't know. If I'm Windrunner, I'm not buying phase boots anyways. I'm buying treads.
Oh, I go for phase boots 100%.
I mean, I can see why, but
and just the extra little bit of mobility for getting in position for a shackle shot.
Yeah, I get that.
But anyway, so yeah, thoughts on like, is there anything in particular that you think needs to happen for the next big patch? Because I mean, ultimately, you saw the numbers from TI8, over 100 heroes chosen.
There were 4 heroes not picked or banned, and like one of 2 heroes. There were like 2 or 3 heroes that were only banned once, and one of them includes techies. Yep. So,
over 90 got banned. So,
yeah,
pretty much everybody is viables in theory.
I mean, there were some heroes who were played once or twice and lost. So, I mean, we got to keep that in mind. I expect to see. I would not be surprised. I'll put it that way. Not so much that I expect, but I would not be surprised to see Scotty get nerfed. I would not be surprised to see Lincoln's or Manta get nerfed. Again, I'm not expecting them, but I would not be shocked if those got nerfed. And then I'm expecting to see nerfs to those heroes that can fight early and scale well into the late game. Yeah. Or fight not early, but fight in the mid game. So because like what we saw a lot of was we didn't see the Lunas, the Svens, or like that, where you just farm ramp and go late. But we saw a lot of those Drows, etc., where you farm, fight, win. So
definitely gonna be curious to see if they do change Lincolns, because it is a very, very strong item. And it is pretty darn cheap in the grand scheme of Dota 2.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, having it get nerfed would be such a huge boon to like your Necrophoses, your Banes, your Legion Commanders, all those heroes with single target big ultimates. Like that'd be such a massive gain for them. That I wonder if they can make it harder to get, but also not have everybody else, a bunch of like 20 different characters end up getting like crazy powerful by making it harder to get.
Yeah, who knows? Like, I don't know, man. There's a lot of stuff. I would not be surprised to see a lot of talent changes. That's what I was looking for.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, and I'm not just talking like like buffs or nerfs, like little ones. I'm talking like full on throw shit out, and go from there. Like I wouldn't be surprised.
Imagine if like cooldown respawn reduction got brought back as a talent.
Oh, hell no. That's not coming back. That's not coming back.
It probably isn't,
especially with the new change to buyback. So for those who don't know, buyback has been changed from 25% of timer. So say you die back, so you bought back and then you die again. The original penalty for that was 25%. So say you died and immediately bought back and you had a minute left. And then you die again. 15 seconds will be added on because that's 25% of your original buyback or time left. Now it's a flat 25 seconds, which is going to hurt diebacks in the early game, but will make diebacks in the late game not as painful.
Yeah.
I don't know what that's going to do, but it'll be interesting. Also, something to note, the glyph change. You will not be able to glyph until the 3rd minute now is huge because people were abusing glyph to
it's a great
force
way
wave equilibrium to go weird.
Yeah. And that's going to be important. It's also going to be interesting to see if maybe that ends up helping, like, early game Chen pushes, bring those back. Remember, or like early game Pugna pushes back in like TI.
Early game Pugna pushes, definitely. Early game Chen pushes, I'm not expecting because the jungle nerf still, you're not getting a creep until minute 1.
But going to be interesting because that is a change that will have small impacts. Any hero that you really want to see nerfed? Any hero that you really want to see buffed?
Ooh.
In terms of not and let's not be selfish about it. Let's think about the actual Dota 2 viewing experience. Which hero do you want to see less of or see more of?
I think the Drow nerf that we just saw is very good. Or the Drow tweak, I should say. She had a very free early game.
She kind of does inhabit more of like an Omni Knight role where she's really, really good in theory.
Yeah.
But that really crappy laning stage makes her a tough draw in actual pro play.
Yeah. Trying to think because like Necro, I think is actually not in too. I think that he needs some tweaks because he certainly felt very strong at TI, but I don't think that he is busted. Just like I'm just trying to think who we saw too much of in like the off lane position, more so than core, because we saw so much core rotation that I don't know what I expect to see there. Tiny got a little nerf, so that's good. Morphling could use a nerf probably, but I don't know how you. The problem with Morph is that has a very thin window of acceptable because he goes from impossible to play to busted.
Some of you folks who are watching might not remember TI2 when Morphling was just obscenely powerful.
That was 2 Morphlings ago.
Yeah, he was a completely different character back then, but yeah, he was
not that completely, but different. He was pretty much.
His ultimate worked completely differently. He had an entire other escape mechanism on top of his 2 escape mechanisms.
God, I miss some of the split push bullshit you could do as Morph. Both as the not only did I like it as a Morph player, but I actually liked trying to figure out how to outthink a Morphling player because the smart and we're going to very brief tangent here. Like a smart Morphling uses their clone to go farm the jungle.
Yes.
So you use a Riki or a bounty hunter or whatever to go find that clone before you go in on him. And then he bounces out to the jungle. Next thing you know, he gets blown up again. Again, really hard to execute, but was a lot of fun if you could actually do it. But I digress. Hero that I think needs to get nerfed. I think I'm actually going to go with a mid. Invoker might need to be nerfed, which sounds really weird, but hear me out. I think that Invoker in pro play, because we are seeing the continuation of player skill cap getting higher and higher and higher, we are going to continue to see heroes like Invoker and Meepo where the skill cap is literally how good the player is. Like there is an infinite skill cap hero. We're going to see them continuing to get even better. So I think that we will need to see an Invoker nerf in the next year. Purely because of that. We're going to see him continue to get better. As our mid
see that. I just wonder if you can if you can nerf him and still have it be like a character, because the fact that he has 10 spells.
Definitely. I don't know, and I agree. Like I don't know how to nerf him. I'm not calling for anything specific. I just am expecting to see an Invoker nerf in the upcoming year. I know that's longer than what you were originally asking, but that's just what comes to mind more than anything else. Who do you want to see nerfed or buffed?
I want to see Phoenix buffed.
Dude, Phoenix had some busted ass plays though at TI.
Phoenix did, but when you're talking about the TI or the Dota 2 viewer experience, you want heroes that are really visually impressive.
Fair enough.
It doesn't get much more visually impressive than pretty much everything Phoenix does.
Okay.
I think that not necessarily like a big buff, but having him be a regular thing with Sunray and Egg and Dive, all those things being like flying all over the place, it looks cool. It's fun to watch. And yeah, I mean, who are the most fun to watch play heroes in Dota 2? It's like Storm Spirit, pretty darn strong. Ember Spirit, pretty darn strong.
Earth Spirit, let's be honest.
Well, Earth Spirit, but I wouldn't say he's pretty darn strong, but he is fun. Like, you know,
have you seen Jirax play Earth Spirit? I'm sorry, but as long as that man.
How many times did we see him play him at TI8?
We saw him play Earth Spirit in 3 out of the 5 games in the finals.
Really?
I think so. It was either 2 or 3, and he played. Oh, actually, I can check this. What am I doing?
Yeah, but anyway, Phoenix. I want to see more Phoenix. He looks cool. He does cool shit. He's fun to watch. I think that having him end up being a good hero and having all that stuff play out on the stage. And I mean, like, his ultimate gives you such instant suspense when it's done in the middle of a team fight. There's so many good things that come from having a Phoenix in a game. It's just, it's exciting to watch, and it's exciting to play against if you're playing. All that's good stuff. All that is stuff I want to see more of.
Okay, so really quickly, Earth Spirit was played 23 times across all of TI. That includes qualifiers, unfortunately. Okay. He had a 52% win rate and had an average KDA of 3.14.
Because, yeah, I know that Jirax played a godly Earth Shaker.
He did, and Shaker, you know, I will always love to watch. But let me see if I can get... No, that's not going to give me more info.
Yeah. But anyway, this is all tangential. Phoenix is my pick. Phoenix is my pick to get buffed. You want to see Invoker get nerfed, and that's valid, but I wonder if
not so much that I want to see him get nerfed, it's that I'm expecting to see him get nerfed, if that makes any sense. Anyway. And I agree with, I would love to see Phoenix be a viable offlaner again. It's been a long time.
That's true.
Let me think. I kind of want to see Pugna get buffed again, but the problem is that it's really hard to buff him without making him busted.
Yeah.
I just love my little alien.
Yeah, he's a really unique character when you actually sit back and like look at all of him. Like, he's got such unique mechanics.
Real talk, if you are ever in a game where you feel that you can get a little crazy, like you have a really good start with Pugna, play Bloodseeker Pugna. Because what is Pugna's problem? Mana regen. That is his biggest issue. So if you can just keep shit spamming, you can have some fun.
Wait, Bloodseeker?
Expensive. No, with Pugna. Sorry.
So why do they go together?
Pugna Bloodstone?
Oh, Pugna Bloodstone.
Sorry if I said, I didn't mean to say Bloodseeker. No, Pugna. Well, actually, if you decrepify somebody and force staff them while they are ruptured, it does more damage.
That would also be fun, but also...
But no, I'm sorry. I meant Pugna Bloodstone.
Yeah, but anyway.
Or buy a Pocket Bloodseeker. Add that to the game. Just get a little mini rupture.
Yeah, sure. But anyway, that's round 2. We're now going to talk about round 3. Or now going to start round 3, where we are going to talk about all the different other non-Dendi related player transactions that have hit the world of professional Dota 2. So the big one, for all y'all who haven't been paying attention, you can go to Liquipedia, Google it. They have a great list of transfers. Basically, everything about the site is great, but their list of transfers is really good.
Really quickly, if I may.
Yes.
Just because it was just announced and it's not going to be on Team Liquid yet. WESG, going to be happening soon-ish. Team USA was just announced.
Okay.
It's going to be Yawar, Sumail, Universe, MSS, and SVG. So it's the Hassan family. But
that's amazing.
But I'm actually that could be a fun ass team to watch.
And did you and since we're on this topic, real quick, the Team Canada was announced by Eternal Envy, and it is AUI 2000 Eternal Envy, Way Too Sexy, Jo, and Febby. Really interesting lineup
forget
there.
that Febby's Canadian.
Yeah, that's the bullshit explanation for why Immortals can be a North American team.
Yep.
And good to see Way Too Sexy back. People don't remember him from back in the NA heyday, but also dark ages. He was on, I believe, Team Liquid, but I specifically remember him, I think, from Team Dignitas. But anyway, so
wow, makes me feel old.
Yeah, those are all. So WSG is always fun. You always get these really crazy super groups, so I strongly recommend you watch that because it's going to be fun. But anyway, the actual teams that have been broken up or formed. The big one to this point is what happened with Fnatic. So over the last year, we've kind of gotten a whole bunch of different news topics about Fnatic basically kind of pushing against its Southeast Asian quote-unquote roots, even though it's actually a European team and originally was a European team that kind of just saw a market in Southeast Asia. But they, in the last year, brought on Eternal Envy. They brought on Universe. They brought on Pylai Dai, and they ended up bumping a bunch of really well-tenured players, including Mushi, Ohio, those kinds of guys. The Midwan, a lot of really credentialed, really good players from Southeast Asia. They bumped them all. I was wondering if they were going to end up making Fnatic into a European team again, because back in 2011, the original one was a Czech team, or Serbian. But then their big one was TI3. That's where you had Fly and No Tail come together for the first time, and you had Trixie and Hanny and Era. Like it was an interesting team, but ultimately they have since bumped all of their non-Southeast Asian players. They're going back to being a Southeast Asian team again, and they got rid of EE, they got rid of Universe, and they got rid of Pylai Dai. They currently only have Abed and DJ on the team, and that's really interesting.
Honestly, if I had to build a team out of Southeast Asian players, though, I would start with those two. Well, I would start with those two.
Yeah, there's a little bit of shoulder room for like your Ice and your Mineski.
Ice is retired though, and quite frankly, I don't. Yes, he retired. Also, I personally don't like Ice due to some of his racism, all of his racism that he's pulled over the years. But he said TI8 was going to be his last Dota event a while ago, and then when he got banned on Twitch and started streaming on YouTube, he became a Fortnite streamer. And I think he's going to go play in that Fortnite money for a bit.
Yeah, but either way, Abed and DJ, that's a good duo to build around, and lots of different options. I mean, obviously, Southeast Asia never really been hurting for talent. It's always had a good mix of players, and I believe, did we see I think we saw a few of the other like tier 2 Southeast Asian teams get kind of blown up. Yeah, like Geek Fam. Are Happy Feet still a thing?
I root for them. Happy Feet are still a thing, if I remember correctly.
Yep, they actually still have 5 players. So, yeah, but they're going to be able to build a team around DJ and Abed, and that's going to be an interesting one. The other big one was Complexity Gaming. Kind of sad, in my opinion, but they've basically been blown up. For those who didn't pay close attention to the qualifiers, Complexity Gaming honestly might have been one of the best teams in the North American qualifier. Ultimately, they ended up losing to Optic, EG, and VGJ Storm, which
was like shit show. That it was great Dota, but it was this like insane like triple tiebreaker insanity.
Yeah, it was a very, very super duper competitive series, and that new look Complexity Gaming, which included Moo, Limp, Moon Meander, Z Freak, and Adam. Like that was a very strong team, and they very nearly won the North American qualifiers. And honestly, I would have said could have made a pretty good noise at TI8. Like that was a very good team. and they are pretty much gone now.
So,
Moo, Moon Meander, and Adam all gone. Limp and Z Freak are the only ones remaining. Moo, you probably remember from his really awesome, amazing run at TI6 with Digital Chaos. Moon Meander, he had himself a very, very good, long, very nice, very lucrative run with OG. He was on the 2016 version of the team and has really been kind of a journeyman since then. He ended up replacing Moo with Digital Chaos. And since then, he's been on basically every short-lived NA stack you can think of since.
Speaking of Digital Chaos, very briefly, their new brand being just Chaos. Chaos is Chaos Knight.
You gotta do jazz hands with it.
Is looking to buy a Dota team or start a Dota team or something. So keep an eye on them re-entering the NA scene. But anyways, back to complexity. 100% hear what you're saying, and the logic makes tons of sense. However, how many times now has complexity almost done it? I think that the org has needed a shakeup for a little while. I think that Kyle going over to analysis and casting was great for both him and the team, but I don't know if it was enough. I think that this might give it a chance, both for all of those players to mix things up and find something that gels just a little bit better, but also for the org to finally see a little bit more success.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. And yeah, I mean, Swindle's had his own really, really long run with the team. Ended up getting bumped, and that was kind of the shake. That was, in my mind, supposed to be the shakeup. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that was supposed to be the shakeup. Z Freak is still there, but like, you know, he's a good enough player that I can see him having success regardless. You know what I mean? Like, the fact that he's the only guy who's still around that hasn't been, quote, shaken up. And ultimately, when you're shaking up 4 players around one dude, and I think that he's pretty good, like, like, what else can they do? I thought that 5 stack of Moo, Limp, Moon Meander, Z Freak, and Adam, I thought that was a team that could do things, and it stinks that they didn't really get the chance.
Things, but I don't know, man. I think that it's good for them, especially to break up right now. Well, but I expect to see bits and pieces to come back together.
They didn't actually get Moon Meander and Adam until May.
Oh, no. I totally agree with that. But God, I don't know.
Yeah, like that's it. I think that team could have been something. And ultimately, you know, obviously we're definitely going to see, well, almost definitely going to see Moo and Moon Meander end up somewhere else. Adam, I mean, he's a Southeast Asian player and he was a journeyman he was on Fnatic, he was on Execration, he was on Tearing, he was on Fire Dragoon, and he's one of those guys. I wouldn't be too shocked if we saw him end up back on Fnatic 2 years later. Yeah, you have to imagine that all those players are going to land somewhere, but that, like, okay, Fnatic I understand, because ultimately you never really see EE teams stick around in any long-term way. But on top of that, you also, you know, we haven't really seen them have we haven't seen an EE team have great success. Obviously, he won with Team Secret. He won the Shanghai Major.
Yes, I think.
Yeah, but that wasn't really an EE team. That was a puppy team that had EE on it. So,
and they kind of put him in his place.
Yeah,
and I think that's the problem, quite frankly, is somebody needs to get NaVi on a team with an org that has support staff that can get his shit together.
Yeah,
Homeboy still plays Dota on LAN like it's a pub.
Yeah, I would definitely say that there is something to be said for either EE actually playing as a captain or EE actually having a captain while he plays carry. You know what I mean? There's a reason that there's a reason that literally every team at TI8 had either a number 4 or a number 5 player playing carry or playing captain.
Unless, of course, you're LGD, in which case you don't have a captain.
And they're the exception.
I think that still gives that point very clearly, though, because if you look at them, they have this great system where the carry doesn't have to be the captain, and I think that's the key, is that your carries need to be able to carry, and sure, in the late game, they need to be able to make those call-outs of this is what needs to happen, but if you are busy trying to macro and micro, one of the two is going to fuck up, and when you're the carry and you fuck up both one of them, they both end up getting fucked up and you lose. So don't be a carry if you're position 1 or 2. Or don't be a carry. Don't be a captain if you're position 1 or 2.
And I mean, keep in mind TI5. Fear was the captain for Evil Geniuses forever. They had mixed success throughout the years. And Fear ends up moving to carry, and the captain role ends up falling to PPD, and they win the whole goddamn thing. Yep. Like, there's a reason we see, like I said, there's a reason we see the number 4s and number 5s being the captains for teams and not carries. We don't see carries as captains, and EE has kind of been trying to juggle those, and it just hasn't really. It's worked out okay because Team NP did do some good things. Fnatic did have its moments, but in terms of actually being a consistent top level Dota 2 team, it feels like he either needs to stop being a captain as a carry or just move to a support role while still being a captain. One or the other.
Yeah, and I totally agree. And it's I want to, like, if I could tell Eternal Envy one thing, it's that he needs to check his ego at the door.
Oh, I would tell him I love him.
Okay. That's fair. But as a guy who I spent 3 years where my job was literally to know everything about the Smite scene. Yeah. I saw several guys like Eternal Envy who came through, and because there wasn't as much money in Smite, you burned out a whole lot faster if you were like him, but you had to do one of two things. They either had to leave because they couldn't get over their ego of, I need to run the show, or 2, they checked the ego at the door. And these guys said as much, in interviews. They said it was my ego, my hubris, whatever you want to call it, that I thought that I could do both of them. And we're not seeing anybody who can do that in Dota. It's not like there are examples of it where EE can say, like, see, look, I'm this. Like, he very clearly, I'm not saying he doesn't have a good mind for Dota. I'm not even saying he can't be a good strategist, beforehand. Like, let's come up with some stuff. But in game, he cannot be the shot caller and the carry. It's just not going to work.
It almost accept that. Yeah. I mean,
that's the thing.
Like I said, I don't think long story short, I don't think it's a coincidence that everybody else has support captains. I don't think it's a coincidence that the one time that EE did win a big tournament was when he was with a team that had a very strong captain who also is a support player, being Team Secret. And I don't think it's a coincidence that there have been a lot of ups and downs with EE while he's trying to juggle those two roles of carry and captain. Like I said, there's been some good moments there. He's won some big tournaments, but
yeah,
not with that particular setup. And finally, just some quick other notes on who has gone where. We saw Infamous, the South American team, kind of get blown up. They ended up losing 3 of their players, being, let me pull it up. They ended up losing Minaz, Excel, and Stinger. And Leo Style and King Tekka are both leaving Taurus Gaming. Those 5 players together will form a new South American team called Braxstone. Yeah, right.
That name just took a second to sink in for how hilariously bad and good it was at the same time.
Mm.
Sorry, continue.
Do we actually know anything about this? Is this an organization or is this just
I'm pretty sure they're memeing, but it sounds hilariously bad. Like the name, like Breckstone.
They have a sponsor.
What?
Yeah. I guess it's a larger organization.
Google.com. Breckstone, Brexstone.
BRAX.
Brackstone.
Yeah, like Brax from the old show on Adult Swim. Oh, wait, no, that was Brack. Never mind.
No, well, there was also Brax, the player.
They have a Facebook page. They're a larger esports organization. So
Sponsored
yeah,
then again, AOC will sponsor any esports org with a pulse. So
yeah, but that's ultimate. They're a larger esports organization from South America, and we'll see if they can do anything. That kind of blows up. That's a tough blow for Infamous, who has kind of been the poster boy for how turbulent the South American scene has been. Like, they've kind of been blown up and reformed 4 or 5 times now in the last 2 years. It's been pretty ridiculous in terms of how many times they've had to just rebuild themselves from scratch. Other note is Immortals, down to just 3 players. They ended up booting, or they walked away. We're not really sure. Ryoya and Dubu. The only remaining players on that team are MP, Velo, and Febi. Kind of sad to see that old school MVP Phoenix get so thoroughly chopped up and scattered. But we still have, a few players from it. I mean, technically Velo was on MVP Phoenix for 3 months back in 2016. He was never on any of the good teams for it, but he was on the Boston Major MVP Phoenix, which is just
yeah, that very much. I think that qualifies the
yeah. And that's about it. Any other topics you wanted to wrap on before we wrap up?
Nope.
Yeah, that's about it.
I've ranted enough for tonight.
So that's it for everybody. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. And feel free to give us any of your thoughts on what kind of content you would like to see and what kind of platforms you would like to see this content on. Would it be easier for you to listen to us on SoundCloud or on Podcast Addict? If so, let us know, and then let us know how to actually get on Podcast Addict, because I don't really know. Either way, everybody have a great week, have a great weekend, and have a good life if you don't ever come back.